Like you personally, how do you personally practice the psychology aspect of trading?
Purposefully told me you don't need that information.
What are some tools or resources outside of your dad's teaching that have made an impact on what you're doing? This is our interview with Trades with Lauren. You can find her on Instagram at Trades with Lauren. She shares tips, tricks for trading, and some of her strategy, how she got into the game, and some of these things might help you out. Enjoy the episode.
How I got into this space, even, I guess, is my dad. I don't know if you've seen any content with my dad, but he is like the head honcho of the family of how we all kind of got into it. He started trading the year I was born. Took him a few years of trial and error. He didn't have a mentor or anything like that, so he had to figure it out on his own, and thankfully he came out on the other side. And since then, he has taught, obviously, my cousin Tori, who you saw, and my other cousin in his course. He kind of walks through everything with them. That's kind of where he started his teaching. I think that was only maybe 8, 9 years ago now. So he was trading for like 20 years before he even started teaching, which I think is cool because a lot of people, they're like 2 trades in and they're like, all right, I can teach you something. So yeah, I just grew up around it. My dad, being a successful trader, I could kind of see the like, I guess just the world and the potential that trading, allowed for somebody, and just a normal somebody. So yeah, I grew up with it. I probably first learned maybe in elementary and definitely into high
That's
school.
early.
Like, yeah, just like him kind of like, I feel like I even remember like when I was very, very little, like him just showing me a chart and being like, do I buy or sell? Just like very, very basic, obviously, but yeah, started me out very young. That doesn't mean I took it seriously that whole time. It takes your own kind of initiative to get into things. So I would say it wasn't until like probably last year that I really decided, okay, I'm gonna put in like the time that it takes to focus on this, I guess. And my dad is very, his whole thing is the mental side of things is what makes you stand apart from the 80% that
Sure.
lose money. Yeah.
I think
So
that's a pretty common message too.
yeah, for sure, for sure. So it's you can have, there's, I'm sure, a lot of correct strategies. It's all
Hmm.
about the mental part of it. So yeah, I'm kind of taking that now. I went live last year, and I think I jumped the gun because I felt like I knew, growing
Hmm.
up in it. I'm like, oh, I know all the right answers kind of thing. But you don't really realize until you're in it. So taking a step back now, kind of I've gone back and forth from simulated to live and just taking the time to really like focus on my psychology side of things because um yeah, I want to be able to do this for the long run, not just
Yeah.
like make a quick buck.
Right.
So
How do you
yeah.
practice that psychology? Like you personally, how do you personally practice the psychology aspect of trading?
Yeah, I think having my dad as a mentor has been very helpful because I can go to him with any questions, and be
Hmm.
like, what happened here? Why did this happen to me?
Hmm.
And I feel like the patience and learning to lose correctly, that's something that my dad harps on a lot. Losing correctly, we're all gonna lose. That's something that we have to accept, and being okay being a loser, which is still, that's like an internal, that's hard for people
Yeah.
to really like actually accept. We don't want to be losers. So
Right.
I feel like that part is like something that I have really been like, okay, I need to embrace this in
Hmm.
this aspect of my life. And because once you do embrace it, then it's like, oh, this is a normal part. It's not me, I'm not a failure because this didn't work out kind of
Yeah.
thing.
And when you say lose correctly,
Hmm.
what do you mean exactly by that?
Like, I guess making sure you're taking correct losses, if that makes sense. Like, um, having your risk and stuff like that. You don't want to be blowing crazy money. Like, everybody is going to take losses. So
Hmm.
if you know you are, you got to minimize the amount that you're actually losing,
Gotcha.
money wise.
Yeah.
So yeah, and my dad's strategy and stuff like that, just being able to like, um, I guess follow that correctly and like if a trade doesn't work out,
Hmm.
it's a correct loser because I'm still following the strategy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, you had your downside risk was in the correct spot. So whatever that, like whether there
Right.
was a stop loss or you got out manually, was correct according to your strategy.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
What is that? What is that for you? Is that like a percentage of your overall account balance, or percentage of the trade?
No, it's not really a percentage, and it's funny because I feel like I'm a little bit uh I'm not super well versed on like all the terms and like the correct percentages and all of that kind of stuff, but my dad has purposefully told me you don't need that information kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. He's like, you need these things, the psychology side of things, the strategy side of things, and then you leave it all. And that's why whenever we're kind of like talking to students and stuff, he's like, if you are a complete beginner, like you know nothing, you're already ahead of the game because you don't have to unlearn anything, you know? Um, so for me, it's not like a percentage or anything like that. It's in the trade when I'm actually in a trade visually where it is, in comparison to the price and where I got in and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're marking up charts.
Hmm.
Would you consider yourself, or yeah, maybe this is a better question. Like how would you describe your strategy?
It's definitely trend line, I
Okay.
guess I would say.
Hmm.
Tori I think she would consider herself a trend line strategy. Like that's how she kind of teaches things.
Hmm.
Um, so it's definitely that side of things, but it's a little different, I guess, because there's those other. I say it's different because of the mental aspect of it,
Hmm.
I guess. The strategy, yes, we use trend lines. My dad hates the word trend lines, so we don't really use that word. But the lines, that's how we mark up our charts
Yeah.
and, you know, dictate what's going to be a good trade or when we should get in and out, pretty much.
Gotcha. I
Yeah.
could see how terminology could affect the psychology
Yeah.
of trading. Now that you say that, um, from a trend line standpoint, if I'm like, oh man, this trade's going to hit this, particular trend line, like
Right.
there's some anxiety with that.
Yeah.
And then there's also some like excitement or hype around that too.
Yeah.
So I'll get on board with
Yeah.
that,
Changing the word. And honestly, like it's what works for you, as far as like the terminology and stuff,
mhm,
because yeah, it just puts a like some kind of precedent around
mhm.
the line, whenever you call it a trend line. So, yeah, that was kind of his, I guess, thinking behind it too. So,
Seems totally logical and rational.
yeah, for
Now
sure.
that we've kind of like talked about it, it's like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, yeah. I mean, I
yeah,
get that
right, for
for sure.
sure.
Cool. So you've been at this for about a year, on the live and simulated side of things.
Yeah, so I committed to like I committed
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make this thing work kind of thing last year. Um, and simultaneously I went live, and that was my mistake because I was like,
Mm.
okay, now I'm really gonna go for it, but I'm gonna go in with real money and really commit. and I should have been patient and did what I'm doing now, which is the psychology side of things, really honing in on like the things that my dad teaches and stuff, so that when I'm actually ready, then it'll be like I can jump in with 2 feet kind of thing. Um, so I would say the year thing is like, okay, I've committed and I've been like, another issue of mine before was I would get in, I would be excited, and then like a few weeks go by and it would just fizzle out, and I would just be like, something else is more important, or
Life happens.
yeah, exactly. So just not yeah, just not honing in on it, I guess. But this last year I have been able to be at least consistent with my journey and with my I don't know, focus, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
It does, like, creating content on Instagram help you with the regiment of that consistency?
I think so. It does help me stay in like the mental space of it,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also like a catch-22 because it's like if I'm not feeling good about something, I need to post,
Mm-hmm.
So it's like um
A
it's a
distraction as
weird,
well.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
weird kind of balance of like, okay, because also people want to see like real money. That's what people want to see.
Mm-hmm.
So from my standpoint, where I am in my journey sharing, a lot of people appreciate like the honesty and like, oh, like you're not actually like making 100 grand a year or something like that, like
Mm-hmm.
they like that side of it, but there's the other half that are like, we just want to see the big bucks and that this actually works, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's a balance, I think. It does keep me at least like mentally in the space and thinking about it and stuff like that, but it's also a challenge sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
It's a blessing and a curse for sure
Yeah.
to make content around the thing that you're passionate about.
Right.
To your point, it does keep you in the game, but it also keeps you in the game sometimes when you don't want to be in the
Right.
game.
Right. Sometimes it's nice to take a step back too.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some tools or resources outside of your dad's teaching
Hmm.
that you have found to be helpful or resourceful or that have made an impact on what you're doing?
Yeah. I I feel like having, at least for me, it's been helpful, like with my cousin, having support that has gone through the same process as me, and not just like any trade or any strategy kind of thing, but because my cousin and I have gone through the same thing, same process, same teacher, all of it. I just feel like that kind of creates a good connection, and it's important for the community aspect anyway, to
Hmm.
bounce ideas and just like struggles and successes and stuff like that. So I feel like having a community that is in the same realm as you, that doesn't mean like a discord of like random traders, because I think
Sure.
that is probably the opposite would be, not helpful. So I feel like that some kind of community, if you can find that. And then I've really enjoyed, to be honest, I don't really use a ton of like things. I use TradingView
Hmm.
to trade, and I use TradeZella to track trades. That's pretty
Yeah.
much the only
For your
two.
journal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the only two like outside sources that I really use.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, those are two really popular ones and
Yeah.
probably the most common from like a success standpoint. If there are really only two things that you're going to use
Right.
from like a software standpoint,
Yeah.
I would second that. Those two are amazing.
Yeah.
Really interesting point that you brought up. I'll call it a trading buddy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So somebody that has a similar similar strategy to you or the same,
Mm-hmm.
would you recommend somebody that's on, a similar level, above, below, in terms of like skill?
Yeah, I think, I mean, ideally, I think you should have kind of like each tier. I think that would be ideal. Um, I have my dad who is my mentor. He has already made it. He has uh, walked the last almost 30 years through this. So he's the person that you can go to. I have my cousin who she is well on her way. She's not at my dad's level yet or experience level yet. That just takes time. But she is someone above me who I can now look up to and like, um, yeah, I guess kind of like a mini
Hmm.
mentor, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
And then I also have like one of my brothers who we Tori is doing her accelerator right now, and we're both on as coaches right now. And my brother, I would say he's kind of like where I was a year ago. He obviously knows all the right answers, the psychology, like a lot of my dad's psychology is not just for trading, it's just for life in general. So we
Mhm.
grew up knowing all of that. So he's very well versed in that, but he hasn't quite taken the leap to commit and stay. So I feel like it's nice for me and him now because it's like we can encourage each other being in this kind of like before you make it stage,
Yeah.
like in our journey.
Celebrate
So
the
yeah,
mini wins and the big wins together.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And
Hmm.
like, yeah, and just, I guess, if we're both on that track together, just kind of like encouraging and like, it's easy for somebody who's already made it to say don't stop,
Hmm.
but like for somebody who is, yeah, right alongside you to like keep pushing you forward, I think that's really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that mini community where you've got somebody that's really close to you, whether it's a
Hmm.
family member or a friend. And I like what you said about Discord. Um, there's a time and a place for Discord.
Hmm.
I think virtual friends serve a purpose for sure.
Yeah.
Do they replace somebody that you're really close with personally? Whether again that's a friendship or a family member. I don't think so.
Yeah.
And those I don't think your Discord friends are going to be the ones to say, "Man, I really don't think you should do that."
Right.
Um, it's
Like
it
actually give you advice.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're gonna be the ones that say, "I think you should take this trade,"
Yeah.
not knowing whether or not they took it or not.
Right, right. Yeah.
So,
And I think one point that my dad, because I've even before he kind of explained his psychology on it, I was like, why don't you like kind of start? Because people ask for him to start things like that. Like they
hmm
want like some kind of chat or open, like he gets his students his personal number. He's very like connected with them one on one. Um, but people are always like, what kind of like do you have like a Discord or something like that? So I mentioned it to him and he's like, it's so dire that these people get the correct information at the right time. And if we're just throwing all these people who either say they want to trade or say they kind of know how to trade or whatever their status is, it's gonna it's gonna throw somebody off because they're hearing, maybe it's a good thing that they're hearing, but they're hearing at the wrong time and it could change, their direction. So I think that is super I don't know, it's just like a different, I was like, oh, okay, that actually makes sense,
for sure. I
Yeah,
mean,
and I do like Instagram. I mean, I'm on Instagram. Like I can't, hate on it totally, but there's a lot of entertainment. And so if you want to be entertained, that's fine, but it's like your mind doesn't know how to tell if something is like, oh, is this actually like information I need to
right.
store? And your brain is probably actually storing it regardless if you recognize it or not,
Hmm.
It's going to take those little nuggets of information and start piling it up and then before you know it, you're like you've gained all this knowledge that is actually incorrect or that's actually having the reverse effect on your trading. So it's kind of Instagram is like a love-hate relationship,
For sure. What do you try to put, what type of content do you try to put out there on Instagram for
Yeah.
your followers and just people who find you randomly?
I try to focus on psychology side of things. That's
Okay.
like I would say what my primary content is.
Yeah.
Um, it's nothing super like I try to make it very blanket. If you hear this, it's gonna be helpful
hmm
kind of thing, not for whatever stage you're in, you
Yeah.
know. I
So
try not
more
to.
value based than entertainment based.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I try not to bring too much strategy or anything like that. I do show like some of my trades and stuff like that, but I don't go into depth because if somebody doesn't start, from the foundation, they're not going to understand or understand completely. And like I said, it can throw off, you don't start with the roof, you start with the foundation,
Yeah.
so I don't want to throw somebody off either. But yeah, as far as right now, that's kind of what I've been sharing with people.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Um, so we got a couple minutes left. I
Yeah.
don't want to
Yeah.
be respectful of your time.
Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned people really want to hear about, the money that you made, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
ask you how much
Yeah.
money you made. That's totally inappropriate. But what's the biggest trade that you've made, both in the simulated, it can be simulated or live trading.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are always kind of fun to hear about, and what you learn from it,
Right. Right. Trying to think. I'm trying to think like in a single trade.
or even your
Um,
most memorable trade. That could be cool too, because sometimes it's like, man, I had this setup and I made $50, but it
yeah.
was the first $50 I ever made, and it was
Right.
amazing.
Right. I would say so when last year when I first decided to commit to this, we were actually on a family vacation in Oregon. So I had my dad there, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna start this and like I can bounce ideas off you and stuff. And I remember like, okay, I jumped in and I don't even remember what I was trading, but I traded something and then I think it was like $500 in like maybe an hour or two, and
hmm
I like closed it out in the bathroom with like my whole family, there or whatever. Not in the bathroom, but in the house, and I was like, this is amazing. Like I can't believe that I just did this. And it was like my first trade when I opened, which was a good little
hmm
a little like, yeah, you did it. But
Yeah.
I would say that one is probably the most memorable, like just because it was the first time I really committed to myself. I went live. I was excited. I was with my family. And then also to make, a little bit of money was
hmm
nice. So I feel like that one was probably the one for me.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, what a great start. What a great,
Yeah.
kickoff
Oh,
to
yeah.
hopefully what becomes a very prosperous future for you, because it
Yeah, for
sounds like you've
sure.
got a lot of great things going for you.
That's the hope for sure.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Lauren, where can people find you online?
Yeah. Trades with Lauren on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I'm not great about TikTok, but all the things. Trades
Okay.
with Lauren. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And your coach for,
For Tori, yeah, so we're
okay.
um we're on her last accelerator right now that
hmm
she's doing, and I'm one of the coaches for her. So yeah, we've been doing that. Actually, it's going on right now. It'll finish up on the 12th. So
Cool. Are you
yeah.
starting your own course anytime soon?
Not yet. I'm helping my dad out, just like on the back end of things, and trying to help him manage his stuff with his
Yeah.
clients and everything, or students. So yeah, not yet, but maybe one day. We'll
Okay.
see.
Awesome. Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah.
One more time, where can people find you?
Trades with Lauren.
Trades with Lauren.
Yeah.
Awesome.
hmm
Lauren, thank you so much for joining us here at FTG. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so
It's
much.
been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I appreciate it for sure.